Happy Friday, Nick. Thank you so much for joining today to come talk about Pike Place Market and the foundation. And you always do such a great job talking about the history, number one, of the market, but then going into all the details about the foundation. And you always bring the life and the energy into it. And I just thought it'd be great for us to connect here and share and spread the word about how the foundation's doing and the market doing in general, and then all the great things that are going on community-wise, events that the public can get involved in if they want to volunteer or if they just want to attend some of the fun events as we make our way through summer and also into the fall and winter months, which happen to be kind of my favorite time of the year in the market. So I think we'll kind of just let you go from here. I know you prepared a nice slide deck for us, so let's get going.
Well, fabulous. Thanks so much for having me, Ashley. I love talking about the market. So here we go. Pike Place Market this summer is 117 years old. This has been a place where, the people of Seattle for over a century now have been able to come down and deal directly with the people that grow our produce and fish our fish and make cheese and butcher meat and make all kinds of amazing crafts as well. So I wanted to take everybody through sort of a whirlwind history of the last 117 years of Pike Place Market and tell you a little bit about what the Market Foundation does for the community. Again, my name is Nick Setten. I'm the major gift specialist at the Pike Place Market Foundation. Prior to my life here in the Market Foundation, I was a food tour guide in the market for about 12, 15 years. And then I worked at the visitor information booth for a little while. Since then, I've become very involved with the neighborhood and sit on a number of different boards and committees, including the Friends of the Market and the Pike Place Market constituency. And through them, I sit on the PDA council as well. So I wear just about as many hats as you can wear in the market. But the reason that we have Pike Place at all is because Seattle is and always has been this boom town. Back in the early 1900s, a little before that, 1897 was the Klondike Gold Rush, which really, of course, put the city on the map. With the Klondike, we saw huge population movements out here. In 1890, we were home to about 20,000 people. 10 years later, we had 80,000 people. 10 years after that, we had 230,000 people. So people coming from all corners of the planet. We had a large Scandinavian population, French, Dutch, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Sephardic Jews from the Eastern Mediterranean, people coming from all over the globe who are dealing with this language gap here in Seattle. How are you going to do business if you can't speak the same tongue, right? So our first solution in town was middlemen. These warehouse owners, they were situated along Western Avenue, which is just west of where the market lies today. But these warehouse owners had a pretty slick game. They would buy the produce from our farmers around town, then they would turn around and sell it off to the people, which was a great idea, especially if you had a warehouse. Even better if you had friends with warehouses. And sure enough, these guys were increasingly accused of working together and taking advantage of their position. They were accused of hiding things under floorboards, of dumping produce into Elliott Bay, creating these artificial scarcities. Things came to a head between 1906 and 1907 when the price of a pound of onions in particular skyrocketed from 10 cents to $1 in a year. And that was a time, for context, when a pair of shoes at Nordstrom's just up the road was $2. So we wouldn't stand for this. We let loose of the public outcry, answered the form of the Pike Place Public Market, where we could come down and cut out those middlemen entirely. Scroll back here a little bit. You can see here, meet the producer is the guiding credo of the market. It's the mission statement of the market. It's all about talking to human beings. It's relationship-based, we'll get into here in a bit. So day one of the market was August 17th, 1907. It was a flurry of activity. A dozen or so farmers' carts lined their way along the bluff. This photo is taken, I believe, between Pine Street and Stewart Street. Actually, in the very back, you can see this, the white framed windows there. That's part of the building that makes up Stewart House right now there in Upper Post Alley. But a dozen or so farmers showed up. They were descended upon by between 2,000 and 10,000 people. The Seattle Times for the day immortalized the birth of the market with a headline that ran, "Public Market is popular. Thousands of customers are disappointed by farmers' poor showing." But with this, the proof was in the pudding. The market was off and running. Next Saturday, 75 farmers were coming to Pike Place Market. In the 19-teens, in the 1920s, it was really Pike Place's salad days. You can see in the upper left corner here the awning and the billboard signs where the corner market stands today. That was erected in 1912. The corner market was, not the signage. And then again, the neighborhood that started off as a way to provide top quality, nutritious, and affordable produce would become even more relevant during the 1930s, the Great Depression, when families who were in need would be able to come down and stock their pantries. Even one of the papers in town, I think it was the Seattle Star or something like that, would publish a weekly article about how you could make lunch in the market happen on a nickel. So it was bright, vivacious, full of this sea of humanity. Boy, how things have stayed the same 117 years later. Some of the faces have changed, but the vibe is the same. Things started to change, though, for the market in the 1940s. With the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor and the subsequent signing by Roosevelt of Executive Order 9066, all Japanese American citizens up and down the West Coast were given a month to sell their businesses, sell their homes, relocate to the incarceration camps around the area. At the time, we had roughly 600 farmers in the market, 2/3 of whom were of Japanese descent. With the Japanese incarceration, we lost so much of the associational, relational life of market. Suddenly, the heart of this community was sucked away almost overnight. In the aftermath of the Japanese incarceration, very few Japanese farmers came back. You saw an influx of Filipino farmers that would take their places in the 40s and into the 50s and 60s. Today, the dominant ethnic groups that you see amongst the farming community are largely Hmong and Vietnamese. So the 50s or the 40s, with the Japanese incarceration, suddenly the air was sucked out of the lungs of the market. The 50s came with the rise of suburbs. The 60s came with the supermarket and microwaves and refrigerators and people leaving urban areas best serviced by a centrally located farmers market like Pike Place and taking up what used to be farmland and was now the burbs. And in 1964, hot on the heels of the World's Fair, which of course was the theme of the World's Fair was Century 21. It was this bright, sleek 1960s Jetsons kind of future. And Seattle didn't have any room anymore for this rundown, ramshackle, somnolent fire trap, as our mayor at the time called it. And you can see on the photo on the left the condition of a lot of the buildings. And in 1964, the city of Seattle proposed what they called Scheme 23. This would call for raising the market neighborhood, keeping this sort of token 1.7 acre little elbow where we see the corner market here on the right side and the main arcade on the left, but replacing the rest of it with a series of 28-story skyscrapers with condos, parking lots, and an indoor hockey arena for the hockey team that like we just got a couple of years ago. But that's okay because the citizens of Seattle spoke up. In particular, a man named Victor Steinbrook, you can see him pictured on the right. He was a professor of architecture at the University of Washington and an early preservationist here in Seattle. And Victor and these like-minded friends of the market, which was this, group of artists and thinkers and poets. If you've ever heard of Mark Tovey of the Northwest School, he sold off some of his early lithographs to fund the market's first legal defense fund. But these people who really dug the value of this authentic place, this human scale of this place. And these friends of the market, they spent 8 years working to fight the city. And it was this real David and Goliath struggle. You had on the one side, the friends of the market, and on the other side, the majority of the city council was arrayed against the market. The media in town was all against this old, ready to be torn down, blighted neighborhood, and were against the market. Even a number of market businesses were ready to get theirs and get out. And it got so bad that the friends of the market, their slogan was let's keep the market. The opposition, the folks in favor of tearing it down, got down with this idea of let's save the market. It was this sort of newspeak kind of thing. Let's save the market by tearing most of it down. The friends wanted to keep it, warts and all, because you can't replicate a natural evolution of a neighborhood quite like this. And so in an American first in 1971, after 8 years of going back and forth, the Friends of the Market successfully lodged a petition, got it onto the ballot, and the voters of Seattle in 1971, with an overwhelming 2/3 majority, voted to keep the market. And Pike Place, as we know it, really began to coalesce. Now, this would be the first time in American history where citizens would step up and declare a National Historic Site or District 1 worth saving, as opposed to being rubber stamped by the Department of Neighborhoods, the Department of the Interior. So it's really a grassroots movement in a major, major way. And so the market as we know it today began to coalesce in the 1970s. Pike Place's job today is threefold. Number one is to keep farmers selling direct to people. Number two is to support and incubate small and marginal businesses. And number three is to take care of this downtown community, particularly of seniors, and particularly of seniors on low and fixed income. All of this, flash forward 50 years, we had this little pandemic that you might remember. And we got to see what happens when you preserve a neighborhood quite like this. I'll get back to that in a moment. For now, suffice to say, today Pike Place is home to about 250 small businesses. We call them stores with doors because they're stores with doors. We're really good at this naming thing. We have about 220 artists on the craft line, about 60 to 70 farmers at a given moment, and about 400 residents, many of whom are senior and many of whom are senior on a low and a fixed income. Living down here in the market. Essentially, you look up above just about any of the buildings down here and it's housing. So in the 1980s, under the Reagan administration, the market was found that it was no longer able to meet its third charter obligation of taking care of the community. All of a sudden, funding towards social services bottomed out. And so some very clever people at the market PDA, which are the landlords of the market, they spun out this idea of a foundation that would leverage the love that people have for Pike Place into this long-term sustainable support, into the Pike Place Market Foundation. You may know us best from our mascots, Rachel and Billy. I heard this great story the other day. Somebody was telling me they had heard somewhere that Rachel was based on the last pig that was sold in the market back when they sold live pigs down at the market. And I'm here to tell you, that's hogwash. No, we needed a piggy bank. So we got a piggy bank. Rachel is 550 pounds of bronze piggy bank, as is her cousin Billy. They both take home about $20,000 a year in small bills and loose change that goes towards the 5 social services that I'll be telling you about in a moment or so. Rachel is based on a real swine behemoth. The real Rachel was a 750-pound prize-winning pig out in Whidbey Island who lived next door to local sculptor Georgia Gerber, who designed Rachel and Billy right here. Now, the work that we do at the Market Foundation is informed by what we call the social determinants of health. You may have heard of this, the 6 determinants of health, or this healthy community model that's begun to gain traction over the course of the last 5 years. Essentially, this rubric here is all of the constituent elements that people or a community need to be happy, healthy, and holistically whole, short of going and sitting in a doctor's office and having an appointment. So, you know, it's things like economic stability and opportunity, access to food, educational opportunities, healthcare system navigation in particular, community and social context, and of course, neighborhood and physical environment. We're really lucky that the market, all of these things that we explore here and this framework through which we view our work, we inherited this because this naturally grew up out of the market as well. We'll get into that in a moment. So I mentioned that the market is home to 5 social services. We call them the 5 families because most things down here are kind of a thinly veiled mafia reference. But we've got the Pike Market Food Bank and Senior Center. The Senior Center is a membership organization. To be a member of the Senior Center, you got to be 55 or older. Like you don't even have to live in Seattle. They've got members whenever they're visiting from Manhattan or London, they come and they take advantage of the services there at the Senior Center. Fundamentally, the Senior Center is 2 hot meals a day for all their members. They get to take advantage of one of our food access programs, which is our bulk buy program, where we basically put them in touch with market farmers to make sure that there's a growing season. They're getting top quality nutritious produce. The farmers have a portion of their field that's already sold. So we have these opportunities to have these incredible win-win kinds of things. So Pike Market Senior Center, Pike Market Food Bank. Providence runs Heritage House at the market. That's the market's assisted living facility. That's home to 64 market seniors to age in place. More and more work is finding just how devastating it is to take folks, especially seniors, out of the social context. And so this is an opportunity to age right here in the market, surrounded by people's friends and family. This is the only assisted living facility in the downtown core that works with seniors on Medicaid. It's one of 3 in the county that do that. We've got the Pike Market Childcare and Preschool that was born out of this century tradition of working parents in the market. We've got Neighbor Care Health, or excuse me, the Market Clinic, which Neighbor Care took over back in the early 2000s. The clinic, if anybody has deep memories of the market, you may remember the Mother Lode Tavern, which stood where the Inn at the Market stands now. The Mother Lode was an old biker bar, which is where the Market Clinic was born right after it had closed and stopped doing business. They reconverted the men's room into their lab, and it was a whole thing. I mean, we're good at reusing things here in the neighborhood. And then, of course, there's the Market Commons, which opened up in 2017, and that's the market's community resource navigation center. So I think of the Commons as the mortar to all the different bricks. They help make sure that all the different services are in touch with each other. They do everything from bringing down tax prep help during tax season for market small business owners. They bring down King County healthcare navigation resources. They bring down Orca Lyft. During the pandemic, they made 9,000 calls to market residents just to check in and say, hi, I haven't seen you in a while. So really, really, really incredible little resource there. So once again, we're home to Heritage House. And again, back in the 1960s, when Victor Steinbrück and the Friends of the Market were fighting to save this place, they recognized this continuum of the human experience. There was a local architect named Fred Bassetti who would say, Pike Place Market reveals the face of truth. This is a place where young people will learn that carrots are more green than orange. Milk is 2 parts skim and cream, and then not everybody is clean and not everybody is well dressed. This will do them good. Like, there's no rock tumbler being a human being quite like this neighborhood. So preschool kids have their playground just in the courtyard of Heritage House. So, and they've got pen pal programs, and they'll have dance parties and all kinds of things to keep people engaged and active and surrounded by life. The Market Food Bank has 3 major activities they do throughout the week. They have their standard grocery delivery. That's this client choice model, very reflective of shopping Pike Place, giving people the dignity of choice. They do a home delivery service. We helped them broker a deal during the pandemic, in fact, with DoorDash. And they were able to increase their delivery zone by about 400%. So it's deliveries to folks who live in the market, who aren't so mobile, but also in housing, low-income housing in and around the downtown core and in and around the market. Neighbor Care, or the Market Clinic, Neighbor Care took them over in 2000, like I said. They are the state's largest community healthcare provider. The clinic has always been a place where you can come down to reliably get care regardless of your insurance status. There's this theme in the market, and that theme is accessibility and porosity. There is something for everybody in the market because it's intentional and designed that way almost. As I mentioned, the Senior Center, they do classes, they do activities. They just brought on this great new activities guy who's brought a lot of energy to their programs. They've started doing forest bathing, which are these guided meditative walks through Discovery Park and Volunteer Park. And a lot of those the members of the Senior Center have a very urban experience, and so this is a chance to get them into nature. We do a number of food access programs, which everything from the bulk buy program, like I mentioned with the Senior Center, to, in the 90s, we launched a then revolutionary idea of doubling people's EBT and food stamps at farm stalls, which was gangbusters and now gets replicated across the country. And then we did another version of it that was specifically geared towards our high stalls. High stalls are the farm stands that you're going to see in the market that are here year-round and are selling things that aren't so local. These Pike Bucks are basically our own market currency. You can, for instance, go and have a visit with a nutritionist at the Market Clinic, and she'll give you, these ideas for a prescribed menu to get heart healthy, and then she'll hook you up with Pike Bucks. So you can come down and get those things right here in the market. And then, of course, we have the Secret Garden. If you've never been, it's right back behind Market Spice and Maximilian. And it's just this wonderful little urban oasis. It's a real working garden that produces about 500 pounds of produce a year that all goes down to the Market Food Bank. And I mentioned the Market Commons as well. That's Velma there on the right side of the photo. She's amazing. And it's just, she's so good at just like starting with the most innocuous of conversations and pulling all these details, just being the most warm and welcoming person. So, and again, like I said, things were really put to the test in 2020 when all but 23 essential businesses in the market were allowed to stay open. We were in free fall. There are a lot of market business owners who were like, oh, you know, I'll just come back when the cruise ships come back, which it took a while. But, you know, the market's always the front page, the pulse of the city. So even the New York Times reported on this here. With the pandemic and with this, these extreme challenges, everybody in the community whipped into a flurry of activity. The market PDA, the landlords of the market, given the structure that they are, they weren't able to forgive rent. So they had to come up with this very clever solution of basically rent credits. If you paid your common area fees, then you get a credit on your rent. But we were able to help jump in there directly with immediate rent relief, as well as a number of other things. So early in 2020, we launched what we call the Power of Pike Place. The PPP was a complete, I understand, completely incidental. But this recovery campaign ended up raising $4.5 million. And we rolled it out in a number of different phases, comprised social service grants to and emergency programs directly to social service partners, helping to make sure that the staff at the Heritage House could get to work. It was a market community safety net for workers, people facing destabilization or challenges with rent again, and then a small business recovery fund as well, which I'll get into in a moment. The social service grants and emergency programs, like I said, was very much about making sure that people could continue to perform, take care of the broader community in a safe and healthy kind of way. The safety net that I mentioned included about $160,000 in direct rent relief for 100 market residents to help make sure that they weren't upended and they could stay at home, stay in place. I mentioned our small business recovery fund. That totaled $1.7 million in grants to hundreds of small businesses. And this was what was cool about it is, you know, so much of the market is handmade and bespoke and so customized. And so we took that idea and mentality with how we rolled out these small business recovery. We did about 4 different phases. We first worked directly with market stores with doors, the commercial community, to figure out what they wanted for today as far as, you know, rent relief, but also things like, you know, how could they pivot and be stronger in the future? Was it a matter of getting people connected with peer mentors to get them onto Etsy for the first time? Was it getting new equipment so they could change up their production, say a clay printer if you were an artist? So those really custom bespoke solutions. And then we did the same thing with market crafters. Again, it was figuring out how to survive today and how to be more resilient in the future. We then launched a program for market farmers specifically that was, you know, responding to the inflation that they were experiencing and also disruptive forces. A lot of our farmers in the market used to buy their seeds and bulbs from human beings, for instance, and all of a sudden all that stuff went online. So this was a major disruptive force. So we helped get market farmers about $500,000 last year to buy all the seeds and bulbs they needed for the harvest. And on that note, I'd like to share a really brief video with you.
In March of 2020, when much of Seattle and the businesses in Pike Place Market were shut down from the COVID-19 pandemic, we were able to quickly launch a small business recovery fund to support the market at a time in need. Since we knew the impact of the pandemic would last multiple years, we worked in phases to support various aspects of the market when their time was needed. Most recently was the farmers.
My parents have been farming on this land for 35 years. There's so much that goes into growing a single flower and that people really don't understand. I mean, you have to start from a seed, you have to germinate it, plant it in the field, fertilize it, and you hope for good weather. Sometimes you get hail, sometimes you get hard rains, sometimes you get frost or excessive heat. It's a hard business, especially for small farms because we don't have crop insurance. The seed and bulb grant was a great help to our farm. The amount that each farmer received may have seemed insignificant, but for small farms like ours, it's a very significant amount of money. It allowed farmers like ourselves to invest in more bulbs and invest in more seeds.
3 years ago, we had a COVID and we lost everything. And this year, we had a grant to help. It helped a lot.
When the pandemic shut all the markets down, all the flowers just rotted and stayed at the farm. What the grant did was that allowed me to order bulbs, and as early as late February, Mom and Dad should have fresh flowers to sell here.
We farming is not easy job. We can't stop it. We enjoy working the farm. The spring coming, your hand need to touch the dirt. Your body need to walk in the field.
It takes a lot to kill the spirit of a farmer.
Since its inception in 2020, our Small Business Recovery Fund has invested over $1 million into the artists, farmers, and small businesses in this community. Nearly every farm stand you see in the market has been supported by the Small Business Recovery Fund.
We're really grateful to the Market Foundation for their forethought in supporting the farmers and looking to the future and making sure that there will be farmers at Pike Place Market in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
It is really significant for us that we were able to support the farmers in this way. They are the beginning of the market. Our mission is to nurture a thriving market community by supporting the people so that they can live their best life possible.
All about really understanding what the challenges that the market farmers are facing. So this year, our big projects are continuing to meet the emerging needs of the market community. We're working on a farm fund, and we're working on continuing to provide high quality and reliable access to food. As far as the farm fund goes, there's a lot of things happening with the climate right now, to put it about as indelicately as I can. And so we're working to help make sure that farmers are going to continue to be sustainable and able to come to the market. This farm fund is geared specifically towards helping to provide funding so that we can help our farmers buy equipment and more bulbs, seeds, things to help them be more reliable, more resilient, more sustainable long into the future. Another thing that's really cool is we're working on piloting a program to provide culturally appropriate business loans to our Hmong farming community down there. Our other big priority this year is continuing, like I said, to provide access to fresh, nutritious food. I mentioned the farm bucks that we did. I mentioned our Pike bucks. Early in the pandemic, we started talking to people using these programs and finding out what was missing, what was needed, and we kept hearing people wanted protein, meat, cheese. Remember when eggs got super expensive for 20 minutes? So we launched a protein pilot, which, what do you know, was gangbusters. And so that's another standard offering that we continue to provide now. But it's things like, with the pandemic, the food bank all of a sudden had a lot of funding coming its way and was able to lean into the joy of buying produce and buying foodstuffs and not necessarily being reliant on donation streams. So, our services don't want to go backwards and want to continue to build on what they've been able to accomplish. And so those are that's one of our major priorities for the year to come. I've got another video here.
Having a food bank and a senior center together allows us to help our clients in a direct way that services and nourishes more than their dietary needs. We get to have a relationship, know how their health is, and being with them 7 days a week. And it gives us a deeper understanding of why the market community is so important. A senior center has a very robust 7-day-a-week breakfast and lunch program. The food bank has the no-cook bag 5 days a week, home delivery with customized bags 3 days a week, and general grocery distribution 3 days a week. So that whole big package keeps downtown really well fed. We expanded our capacity with federal funds during COVID, and the need continues to grow. But that federal money is long gone. So it is now a puzzle of how to keep up with the pressing needs. We were able to receive some of the COVID Rachel's Reserve funding, and it was a lifesaver in adding to our food budget. It's really given us the confidence that we have the finances to buy the food that we need to support those programs. We have a population that comes to the food bank that is not housed, that does not have a kitchen. We need to have shelf-stable food that is ready to eat. We've been told by our neighbors here that this feels like the safest part of Seattle because of their access to the services. It's an incredible safety net. There's something about this market that really brings out the best in people.
I've spent the last 15 or so years getting to know Pike Place, and really leaning into being curious about the place. And again, for those of you watching, the best way to do the market is to be curious, to really understand that it's a long-term, repeated exposure kind of thing. The market always seemed like such a permanent institution to me, but the more I've gotten involved with it, the more it becomes very clear that it is this irregularity. It is not just about making money hand over fist. There's a social impact element of it too. So I wanted to wrap up our history portion, at least, with a quote from Thomas P. Revell. He was the city councilman who was a disciple of Teddy Roosevelt, and was into busting up big warehouse. And on opening day of the market, I said first day of Pike Place was August 17th. Official grand opening day would then be November 30th, once it had proven to be a pretty successful experiment. But he said, the market is yours. I dedicate it to you, and may it prove a benefit to you and your children. It's for you to defend, to protect, and to uphold. And that it is for you to see that the purpose for which it was created be religiously adhered to. There's challenges to the market all the time, and a lot of tensions in the market. It's this wonderful microcosm for the entirety of the American experience. But continue to be curious, continue to show up. So speaking of showing up, I am with the Market Foundation. So there's a couple of different ways that you could show up and provide direct support to the social services of the market. Whether it's online through our website at pikeplacemarketfoundation.org, or at our office here in the Economy Market building, just down the hall from the market's dentist. Of course, we talked about Rachel and Billy, coins, small bills, a loving pat on the snout. I hear it's good luck. We have planned and legacy giving opportunities as well. If you want to put your name on the market, we've got bronze hoof prints for sale for a donation. And you've probably seen the tiles with the names on them. That was a fundraiser we did back in '85. Each one of those 45,600 tiles went for $35. Today, the hoof prints are going for $2,500. And then, of course, if you like to be more of a partier with your giving, coming up in August to celebrate the birthday of Pike Place is Sunset Supper. We do this every summer. I think this is our 28th annual Sunset Supper. We're bringing down 100 of our favorite chefs and restaurants and wineries and breweries and cocktail makers, distillers, and it's a wonderful night of celebration and appropriate market chaos on the streets. You can also please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find us. We've got a YouTube channel where those videos that I was showing, where we have those living. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. Appreciate you having me here. Thanks everybody for sticking it out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the market.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Yeah, it's kind of amazing, living downtown for almost 20 years. I finally got more involved during the pandemic in 2020. And it really was because walking around downtown, everything was closed, and really the market was kind of like a little shining light. Like,
Yeah.
there was a couple vendors open, and I was doing my grocery shopping there. I personally still to this day, I think I'm about 5 days a week, I'm down at the market, whether it's in the morning and our morning jogs are running through in the morning, or whether I'm intentionally going like, whatever day it is of the week to go get produce and meat and all that sort of thing. So I use the market as my local place to pick up all our provisions for the week.
Yeah.
And, I think that there's a lot of people, especially those who are not familiar with, maybe Seattle life, and they're new to downtown living or whatnot. They look at Pike Place as a kind of a commercialized tourist spot, and
Right.
it's definitely not. I mean, it is definitely the heart of the city. My husband actually just said that last week when we were going through it. He's like, without Pike Place Market as the anchor, the heart of the city and the brightness that it brings, where would Seattle be around it, right? Like, it brings so much of a vibe and energy,
Yeah.
and it's authentic Seattle, and it does
That's
have
it.
its history, and it does have, all these different components on the social side too, which people just are not aware of.
That's it.
As I just start getting more and more involved myself at the board and diving deeper, I become myself more passionate about it too, because I do think it's a gem, if not in the nation, definitely in our community, to have something like the Pike Place Market as a fixture in a downtown core community, providing all these different services, to people around in the community itself. So
well, it's a fascinating thing too, Ashley, because there was definitely a time in the 60s and the 70s when farmers markets were on the outs, man. Like,
yep.
That was it. Why go shop outside when you could have your nice air conditioned, everything's cool, you got the spritzers on the produce section, right? Like, but so many of those lessons were learned in
Yep.
the market, how to merchandise and display produce.
Well,
if listeners at home ever get a chance to come down, there's a book to find called The Insider's Guide to the Market by the late Michael Yeager. And he talks about the chicken wars, and when different chicken vendors in the market would dress up the chickens in their display windows, and like, there's, to your point, like there's this human quality to it.
Yep, it's very much an experience. You get to know your vendors and the people that you like, and you see them and you wave to them in the morning. I mean, there's a whole thing to it.
And there's a seasonal aspect of it too. I'm sorry.
Yep. No,
but
totally.
there's that seasonal, it's like, I mean, when I first started as a food tour guide, and the first time I had local peaches at the peak of their season, right? It was just a game changer. And then the first time I, tried local strawberries at the peak of their season, and so the market it changes throughout the year, and there's this agricultural and seasonal and regenerative element to it all, that there's always something different to find all the time,
Yep. I'll let you in on a little secret. Way back when, and probably this is only like 10 to maybe 15 years ago, during the winter time is probably one of our favorite times to go to the market, right? It's empty, but you have the vendors, and it's all, it's just a fun time. And also, especially when the holidays roll around with the decorations and, everything that the market does. We go to Jack's Fish Spot, and Jack's is, obviously is the indoor outdoor, has their little food plate station there. Go get a bottle of wine from De Laurentiis, have our little styrofoam cups, sit bundled up, eating, whatever it was, our steamers or our chowder. And that was like the most fun. And everyone that would come to town to visit, we do that same thing. And like their minds are just blown, right? That you could actually do that. Probably shouldn't be drinking wine. Just
it was pandemic,
different time.
It was a
Different
different
times.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was that's one of our favorite kind of memories, and also people could make new memories of those different type of things in the market all year round.
Yeah.
So very much looking for Sunset Supper, of course, is the event of the summer. I think for anyone looking for a downtown event, someone who lives downtown, that you could just walk to Pike Place, you're going to see all your neighbors. It's going to be so much fun. All the restaurateurs, the best wine. I mean, it really is just an experience in itself. I think that tickets are selling out, right? We're less than 100 tickets or so at this point.
Yeah, I think we're getting pretty close to selling out. Yeah, I believe it's a little bit less than 100 tickets are left. I mean, yeah, which is great. It's a great problem to have.
Yep.
But it's definitely, it's wonderful. It's just so much fun.
Yep. And then there's some volunteer opportunities, I think, still to people who want to kind of get involved in that way.
That's right.
Yep. And then we'll peel off into, and we'll post all those things. I know we've posted on our social media a few of the opportunities, but we'll make sure to link here to the video. And then during the holiday season with the different things, the celebration, the lights and all that happen after, what is that called again?
Well, there's Magic in the Market comes up in November, and that's
Yep.
the big tree lighting ceremony and everything down here. And I mean, like you said, there's nothing quite like the neon on the bricks in the wintertime. I just love that. And then I think in December is the Great Figgy Pudding. And that's the big caroling competition that happens down here in the market, which is the market senior center's major fundraiser for the year. So there's all these wonderful things happening throughout the entire year.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I recommend everyone to go follow the foundation on Instagram, because they're really great about updating everyone on what's going on. And if you have any questions about the market, getting more involved, feel free to reach out to myself or Nick directly. And if you have any other questions, thank you guys for all attending. And again, thank you, Nick, for your time.
It's great to see you, Ashley. Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll see you later.
Have a great day.
Bye.